The world is changing, and it's happening faster than ever before. Power dynamics are shifting in ways that would have seemed unimaginable just a decade ago. Every headline, every summit, every handshake between leaders signals a new era taking shape before our eyes. Old alliances, once thought unbreakable, are now strained under the weight of new realities. At the same time, unexpected partnerships are emerging as nations look for fresh opportunities and ways to protect their interests. The global landscape is being redrawn, not just on maps, but in the very fabric of international relations. At the heart of this transformation lies a complex interplay between the European Union, China, and the United States, three giants whose actions will define the coming decades. The familiar narrative of a US-led world order which has shaped global affairs for generations is now fading into the background. The United States, under President Trump's second term, is turning inward. The focus is squarely on domestic priorities, jobs, borders, and industry. There's a growing sense of skepticism about global commitments, and a reluctance to shoulder the burdens of international leadership. This shift has left a void on the world stage, a vacuum of influence and leadership. And China, ambitious and determined, is eager to fill that space, stepping forward with confidence. The rise of China is undeniable. Its economic growth, technological advancements, and expanding global reach are reshaping the rules of the game. China is now the world's second-largest economy, a technological powerhouse, and a major player on the geopolitical stage. Its ambitions stretch far beyond its borders, influencing markets, politics, and societies worldwide. Its influence is felt across the globe, from the bustling ports of Africa, where Chinese investment is transforming economies, to the high-tech corridors of Silicon Valley, where competition and collaboration intertwine. This new reality demands a reassessment, not just of policies, but of priorities, alliances, and the very nature of global power. The European Union, long accustomed to operating under the US security umbrella, now finds itself at a crossroads. The need for a new direction has never been clearer. The EU is setting a course towards strategic autonomy, seeking to strengthen its own defense, economy, and technological capabilities so it can stand on its own in a rapidly changing world. This is a course that acknowledges the shifting balance of power and seeks to secure Europe's interests in an increasingly multipolar world, one where adaptability, resilience, and vision will determine who shapes the future. The term strategic autonomy has become, well, a bit of a buzzword in European capitals. It reflects a growing realization that Europe cannot rely solely on the US for its security and prosperity. It signals a desire for greater independence in decision-making, particularly in areas of foreign policy, defense, and trade. This shift is driven by several factors. The Trump administration's America First policies, characterized by protectionist trade measures, and a disengagement from multilateral institutions, have left many European leaders feeling alienated and uncertain about the future of the transatlantic alliance. The ongoing war in Ukraine, fueled by Russia's aggression and enabled by China's tacit support, has further exposed Europe's vulnerabilities. It has underscored the need for a more robust European defense capability and a more assertive foreign policy. The EU's pursuit of strategic autonomy is not about abandoning its alliances. It is about diversifying its partnerships, strengthening its own capabilities, and being prepared to act independently when necessary. This new approach is reflected in a range of policy initiatives, from increased defense spending to a more assertive stance on trade and technology. The relationship between the EU and the US, once the bedrock of the post-war order, is facing unprecedented strain. For decades, this transatlantic alliance has shaped global politics, economics, and security, providing a sense of stability in an often unpredictable world. But today, cracks are beginning to show, and the sense of unity that once defined the partnership is being tested like never before. The Trump administration's decision to impose tariffs on European steel and aluminum imports in 2018, followed by a trade war with China, sent shockwaves through the global economy and exposed deep divisions within the transatlantic partnership. European industries, already under pressure from global competition, were hit hard, and the EU responded with retaliatory tariffs of its own. What had once been a relationship built on trust and cooperation was suddenly marked by suspicion and economic rivalry. The Biden administration's attempts to repair the damage have been met with, honestly, pretty limited success. While there have been efforts to restore dialogue and rebuild trust, many of the underlying issues remain unresolved. The scars left by the previous administration's policies are still fresh, and both sides are struggling to find common ground on key issues. The Inflation Reduction Act, while hailed as a landmark climate bill, has been criticized by European leaders for its Buy American provisions, which they argue discriminate against European companies. This has sparked fears of a new era of economic nationalism, with both sides racing to protect their own industries and workers, rather than working together to address shared challenges like climate change and technological innovation. More recently, the U.S. decision to approve the sale of advanced fighter jets to Taiwan has further inflamed tensions with China. This move, intended to bolster Taiwan's defenses, has been closely watched by European leaders, who are increasingly concerned about being caught in the crossfire of a growing rivalry between Washington and Beijing. The EU, while acknowledging the importance of peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, has been wary of being drawn into a conflict between the two superpowers. European policymakers are treading carefully, balancing their security commitments with the need to maintain stable relations with both the US and China. These tensions are not merely economic or geopolitical. They are also playing out in the streets, in boardrooms, and in the halls of government, affecting ordinary citizens and businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. They reflect deeper ideological differences. The two sides are increasingly divided over issues like digital privacy, environmental regulation, and the role of government in the economy. The U.S., under the Trump administration, has embraced a more nationalist and protectionist agenda, while the EU remains committed to multilateralism, free trade, and the rules-based international order. As these differences continue to grow, the future of the transatlantic alliance hangs in the balance, with both sides facing tough choices about how to move forward in an increasingly complex world. As the United States retreats from the global stage, its traditional leadership role in international affairs is being questioned. This shift has left a vacuum in global governance, prompting other powers to step forward and redefine the balance of influence. China is stepping up its engagement with the rest of the world, eager to fill the void and assert itself as a central player in shaping the future of global politics and economics. The European Union, with its economic might and geopolitical weight, stands as a crucial partner and a formidable counterpart on the world stage. It is a key target of China's charm offensive, as Beijing seeks to build bridges and foster deeper cooperation. From trade deals to infrastructure investments, China is actively pursuing opportunities to strengthen its presence across Europe. China is seeking to deepen its ties with Europe, forging new partnerships and expanding its economic footprint. The goal is clear: to expand its influence within the bloc, not just economically, but also culturally and politically. Today, China is now the EU's largest trading partner, a position that reflects the scale and depth of their economic relationship. Bilateral trade between the two powers now exceeds $850 billion annually, encompassing everything from machinery and electronics to luxury goods and agricultural products. The EU is also a major investor in China, with European companies establishing a strong presence in Chinese markets and cities. Meanwhile, Chinese companies are increasingly active in Europe, acquiring stakes in local businesses and participating in major industry expos. Their investments are particularly notable in sectors such as technology, infrastructure, and renewable energy. The China-Europe Railway Express, a vast network of freight trains connecting China to Europe, has become a vital artery for trade and a symbol of growing economic interdependence. This railway has not only increased the speed of goods delivery, but also reduced costs, making cross-continental trade more efficient than ever before. The railway has significantly reduced transport times and costs, allowing businesses on both sides to benefit from faster supply chains and greater market access. It has facilitated the flow of goods between the two continents, supporting jobs and economic growth in both regions. However, this burgeoning economic relationship is not without its challenges. Political differences and competing interests often complicate negotiations. The EU has expressed concerns about China's unfair trade practices, including issues of intellectual property and state subsidies. European leaders also point to a lack of market access for their companies in China, which has led to frustration and calls for a more level playing field. Human rights remain a contentious issue, with the EU frequently raising concerns about China's record and its impact on bilateral relations. These issues have led to trade disputes, investment restrictions, and diplomatic tensions, underscoring the complexity of a partnership that is, in many ways, one of necessity rather than choice. The EU's engagement with China is a delicate balancing act. On the one hand, China presents significant economic opportunities. Its vast market, growing middle class, and technological prowess offer European businesses significant potential for growth and innovation. On the other hand, China's rise poses strategic challenges. Its growing military might, assertive foreign policy, and authoritarian system of government raise concerns about its long-term intentions and its impact on the rules-based international order. The EU is grappling with these competing dynamics. It recognizes the need to engage with China on issues of global importance, such as climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation. However, it is also aware of the need to protect its own interests and values, particularly in areas such as human rights, intellectual property, and fair competition. This complex relationship is perhaps best exemplified by the EU's decision to label China as a systemic rival in 2019. This designation acknowledges the challenges posed by China's rise, while also leaving the door open for cooperation in areas of mutual interest. The EU's approach to China is not monolithic. There are significant differences of opinion among member states about how best to engage with Beijing. Some countries, such as Germany and France, favor a more pragmatic approach, emphasizing the economic benefits of engagement and urging caution on issues such as human rights. Others, such as Lithuania and the Czech Republic, have taken a more critical stance, highlighting the risks posed by China's authoritarian system and its human rights abuses. These countries have sought to strengthen ties with Taiwan and have been vocal in their criticism of China's policies in Hong Kong and Xinjiang. These divisions within the EU have made it difficult to forge a coherent and unified China policy. While there is broad agreement on the need to address the challenges posed by China's rise, there is no consensus on how best to do so. This lack of unity has been exploited by China, which has sought to divide and conquer by cultivating bilateral relationships with individual member states and using economic leverage to influence EU decision-making.